Cool, so that's the recording started. My name's Barry. This is the NWC Show, Ep.19, I think it is. And if you'd like to introduce yourself.
So I am the personification of greatness, Roy Storey.
Man, so I have to ask, just because the name, where did the personification of greatness come from? Where did that idea come from?
So it's pretty simple. My surname is Storey and my middle name is Roy. So that's how I got that part of my name. But the personification of greatness one is literally just to do with when I was trying to research a character, I asked a bunch of my friends and work colleagues to list the 3 best things about me and 3 worst things about my personality. And great, like the terms think like you're good at stuff or think like you're great, kept coming up a lot. So I thought, all right, I need to turn that into a gimmick, and I just straight away got personification of greatness.
Right. I hope they meant it in a good way and not like in a negative way, or you always think they're good at stuff.
Some people meant it in a good way, but some people kind of like put it in a way where it was like, apparently sometimes I come across maybe a bit overconfident, depending on what the subject is.
Yeah, man, I get that as well. But I'm a really competitive person, and if I know the subject, like if I'm a qualified personal trainer, so if I'm in the gym or something and a PT and like poor gym or something comes up and they try and correct me, but they correct me wrong, then I can come across as arrogant, but just don't correct people if you're not doing it right. But so the first question we always ask, I know this is the second one for this one, is what got you into wrestling? What was that moment that you saw it and you were like, this is my jam, I need to do this?
So there's 2 things. The first thing is I remember like The Rock as a kid, the People's Elbow, straight away. As soon as I seen him, I loved him. In fact, I've always been able to do the eyebrows. So that's pretty cool. But the match that I remember vividly as a kid, which made me decide that this is something that I wanted to try, was Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, SummerSlam 2002. It was the first time that I'd ever seen Shawn Michaels wrestle. I think at the time I would have been 8 years old, and it's just stuck in my mind since then. So that's pretty much a match that made me want to give it a go.
Yeah, man, I think everybody's got like either a wrestler or a fan have got that kind of moment they can always look back on and be like, this was my guy, or this was my jam. I think The Rock was around about that time was everybody's, but I personally hated The Rock at that time. I don't know why. Just I think it was my mum used to always be like, "Oh, this guy's really cool." I'm guessing looking back now, I'm like she had a crush on him, but I hated him because of that. My guy was Taker, Sting, Bret Hart. Those were all my kind of guys that I would rather watch. But I think for me, when I got into wrestling, it was like I'd probably say it would be about SummerSlam 2002 was something that I was like, this is something I definitely want to like invest a lot more time in. But I don't remember a time when it was like I'm going to do anything else other than be a professional wrestler. And unfortunately, when I broke my neck, it was like, oh, that's that gone.
Yeah, it's part of the risk of doing it as well, isn't it? Injuries and stuff like that. So it's kind of like exciting, but it's also a bit, nerve-wracking at times.
Definitely, man. So obviously we've got the Target Wrestling kind of thing going on just now, which you're the head of the poll, which I seen today for I was coming on, which is cool to see. And what kind of got you into? What made you cut the promo and go into it? What kind of got you into it?
So I've been a trainee there for on and off for 2 years, close to that. I'd actually started when I was 18, I think, a few years ago, and I basically injured my knee after a few sessions, and I thought, I can't do it physically, wasn't able to. And then with other jobs and stuff that I've worked, I've not really been able to do it full time until I think it was 2019. I finished working as a personal trainer. At the same time, I was working in a shop as well. So I kept for one job and basically just tried to get down to training as much as I could. So the last year or so is pretty much when I've been more full-time doing it. And then I just basically asked the person that runs it, can trainees enter the tournament? And they said yes. So I just cut the promo and helped for the rest, really.
Man, it's so cool to see. Like, I've had quite a lot of guys from Target on, like Owen Michaels, just loads. Well, I've had 3 or 4, I think it is so far. But it's just so cool to see. Like, you all like push each other and stuff like that, and it's just like quite like a close knit kind of group of people, which is refreshing in wrestling because you just expect everybody to be like backstabbing, especially if you look at Twitter all the time and stuff like that. But it's definitely refreshing.
I've had a lot of help in terms of like lockdown with taking notes and stuff, and like building my confidence up with the wrestling and stuff from Owen Michaels. He's a guy that's been messaging me a lot and he's helped me out. But the main one I want to give a shout out to is Shady Actress. Somebody that's got 20 plus years of experience, and he's been willing just to answer any questions I have and just give me any pointers or any help that I basically asked for. So really appreciate all of that.
Yeah, man, I've had him on the podcast. I think it was last week or the weekend before. It was just such an insightful kind of conversation. Like, we both did, and I spoke about that kind of early period, like when I was getting into wrestling, which was back in 2006. Like, I was really young. I was like 14, 15. So it was back when it was like, before it was like kind of cool, when it had like clean gyms and stuff. It was like in garages. So we're kind of talking about that. But Shady's definitely a guy. I share him all the time. He's 20 years in wrestling is insane to have, and he doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon. So it's going to be cool to see where he takes Target in the kind of next steps. But also for people like you coming up, the promo that you cut, if nobody's seen it, I'm going to link it below. I've shared it on my social media as well. It's amazing, man. The story and stuff in it, I thought it was so cool. And it's no wonder it's done so well, is it just sets it up as like people want to see you in that kind of championship position. Does it feel kind of weird, like you're a trainee and people are like, oh, we want this guy to be the champion?
It's pretty weird, but it's a bit nerve-wracking, especially with doing the promo. I was originally going to go down a different route with the character altogether. I was going to go down the route of, like, because it's being locked down, of being a bit Mick Foley-ish, a bit Cactus Jack-ish. And then a few people had done similar promos, and I was like, I can't really do that. I want to be different. And my brother even wrote a promo, and I just tried to do that, but it just didn't feel authentic, and I just didn't like it. It just didn't come across properly on the recordings. So basically, I told him, I've got this idea. We'll find somewhere to film it. We'll do it, and then I'll just basically do it off the cuff. And if I muff it up, we'll just do different takes until we get it right. And luckily, first time like that, I nailed it. So it was mostly improv. The only line that I had planned beforehand was the one to do with keeping your masks on to hide the ugly faces and stuff like that. So, but the rest of it was just off the cuff.
Well, honestly, I thought it was just a great promo, especially obviously Owen Michaels and stuff cut a great promo. Owen on here, he was saying that obviously his gimmick was like the pretty boy with a mirror and stuff like that. He's like, but I thought because I was in lockdown, I would do like this kind of serious one. And he's like, I'm kicking myself for it because I thought I would try and be different, but everybody seems to have done it. But no, man, your one's so fun. I think it's so cool. It plays into that kind of character, your name as well. And I honestly, when the first time I see that, I was like, I need to get this guy in the podcast. Then Shady was on, and he was like, you've got just go into the Facebook and go through and email people. You'll probably, most of them will be up for it. So it was pretty fun. So we normally always ask as well, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Obviously, I know you're a trainee, and then you're pretty much in the title picture for Target. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you see yourself in NXT UK, title picture there, or?
So that is something that I would definitely love to be able to say that I've been able to do. Even to get a tryout or whatever, or work as like enhancement, would be something that I'd be extremely proud of doing. But I'd love to do different tours in different countries, and even the likes of ICW and stuff like that. I would love to give a go. I've been to a couple of their shows, like a few of the Fear and Loathings and stuff like that, and the crowd up there is just like so hot. It's ridiculous. So I would love to try stuff like that. And then there's things like PCW as well that I've looked at, which could be a bit interesting as well.
Yeah, man, the ICW is the Glasgow kind of crowd is insane. Anytime when WWE comes here for live shows as well, it's just like, it's insane. But I'm proud of it. It's my home city. But I think ICW, I remember them back when they were in Maryhill, which is a kind of poor area in Scotland, in Glasgow. And there was like 2-3 people in the audience. I was one of them. And it was like, to see them go from that to be on a network is insane. I've had a few ICW guys on as well, and it's just insane to see, like, pretty much everybody tells you it's successful. Put the time in, just set aside 10 years of your life and just work on it every single day, and you'll get there. And that's pretty much what ICW done. They just set aside 10 or 15 years, and then they got to where they are, which is insane to think. Having like Mick Foley, the Hydro getting sold, well, nearly sold out and stuff like that is insane. And the other kind of thing, obviously, the 10-year period, you said you'd like to be like maybe an NXT, WWE, that kind of area.
Yeah.
Obviously, given the way Twitter is, when it's so split down the middle between WWE and AEW, do you have a bias to one or the other, or are you just a wrestling fan like me? I just enjoy everything.
I'm not really biased towards any of them, but one thing I'd probably say is I probably do tend to be a bit more towards WWE than AEW, just simply because there's certain things that some AEW superstars do which I just don't like. So like the Young Bucks, for example, with the Super Kick party, I can't remember who they were against recently. One of them hit Super Kick, and they were against Phoenix actually. Hit Super Kick, and then Phoenix just kicked straight back up. And to me, it's like, if you're wanting to keep it, although it's obviously everyone knows it's like predetermined and stuff, but if you're wanting to keep it as real as possible, you've been super kicked, lie on the floor, sell it, get a pin, kick out at 2 or whatever, or get beat. It's like, plus, like Shawn Michaels, for example, used the super kick as his finishing move. Like it's a finishing move. It's not like a move which should just be fired about for somebody just to pop straight back up. You want somebody to pop straight back up, throw a punch. So, but other than that, stuff like, and people getting up from Canadian Destroyers straight away is everything that kind of annoys us a little bit. But overall, I must admit, AEW, they're smashing it, considering that they've only got like over the years experience. They're not doing too bad. And WWE, it's successful. There's a reason that they've made billions. So I like stuff like New Japan as well. I tend not to be able to watch a lot of it, but the stuff that I have seen from New Japan, I do really, really enjoy.
Yeah, man, I think the same. New Japan's always quite hard to find here in the UK for some reason. Like, I normally rely on YouTube. Maybe I get like Fight Network for the bigger events, but it's really quite hard to find like the smaller shows and stuff like that. It's quite hard to follow. I get that, like America seems to get it so much easier with wrestling than what we do, but there is so much UK wrestling in like Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, France, Germany. Pretty much every country's got a few wrestling shows, and they all put on great shows. But I would probably say I lean towards WWE as well, just because it's that familiar itch. Like, they've been there my whole life. I used to be a WCW guy, just because Sting was there. That was my guy when I was a kid. I was like, this is my man. I need to just watch whatever he does. But then that's how I got into TNA. But like, I get what you mean. Like, it's a wee bit too, like, no dramatized, gymnastic-y style. Like, too many flips. Like, I had Mike Vernon on. He's in AEW Dark, and he says the same. He's like, a flip's good here and there. He's like, but just when you do it all the time, and he was saying the same about the super kicks as well. Like, that was literally a finisher that took out hundreds and hundreds of people. Like, just out 3 count, looks so good, and then now it's just like part of a match, which kind of destroys the mystique to it. And I know everybody will be sitting saying, but you need to move on and stuff like that. Yeah, we need to move on, but you can still protect it. Like, it's not like it's still a cool looking move when somebody hits it.
Yeah, it's the same with a DDT. Now, growing up a lot, I didn't really see many people win matches with the DDT, but they would always get a near fall or something like that. But it wasn't until I got a bit older when I started to watch wrestling from like the 80s and saw Jake Robertson, and I was kind of like of the same opinion with like DDT. But at least not everybody's doing a DDT, whereas it seems like pretty much everybody nowadays is doing super kicks. So
yeah, man, I love the DDT as well. It was one of the things that I used to specialise in during training. I love doing it. I got it perfect because it's such a simple move, but it just looks like it hurts. Like, it just looks amazing. You've got that big slam, the big bang from it and stuff like that. I always loved it when I was kind of in training. I think it's a move like it's never really used as much anymore, but like people should start using it because it looks brutal when it happens as well.
Yeah, especially if the person taking it like gives it their all and makes it look as deadly as possible. It can definitely look like such a great move.
Yeah, if the person taking it fumbles it up, then it looks terrible. But if everybody's got it on plan, it looks great. I also think with the split on like Twitter and stuff like that between AEW and WWE, like people arguing about each other, and then I'm just like, it's just wrestling. Like I've got a channel, I review it. The reason I started this is because I used to watch it, so I thought I'd just talk about it, give my opinions on stuff, and hopefully somebody likes it. But it's wrestling. At the end of the day, it's two guys oiled up in the ring, like fighting each other. Like it's not really like you can't really argue about it. It's a pretty silly thing to argue, and I think it's one of the most polarizing sports ever.
It's subjective as well. Like obviously in football, there's not really much of an argument like who the best players in the world are. But in terms of wrestling, like the best wrestler in the world at the end of the day comes down to what you as a person enjoy. And so back in 2006 when Carlin was in TNA, I thought he was the best wrestler in the world. Towards nowadays, I'm looking more like AJ Styles, but then you've got people that would disagree with me and say the likes of Kenny Omega, Ibushi and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, it's subjective, and that's one of the best things about wrestling. But like you say, it's also a bit of a negative depending on who's online. So
definitely, man. Like I have people on the podcast that totally have different opinions from me in wrestling. Like I normally have this guy. He's coming back on GG on wrestling. He loves AEW, and I'm not like a huge AEW mark. Like I'm not a big fan for them, but I appreciate his opinion. He appreciates mine, and it just creates a good conversation. It's when, like anything in life, when somebody gives you that, well, this is my belief, you need to believe it. I'm the type of person that's like, no, I can't like that person anymore just because you've tried to force it on me.
I'm also the type of person, like, somebody had told me, like, I have to believe something that they're saying. I just won't. Like, I won't even try. I'll just be like, my mind made up. You've told me I need to, so I'm just not gonna. So.
Man, I'm the exact same. Like, if you try, I'm self-employed. Like, I couldn't be in a job because of like like the breaks and stuff like that. And I'm like, why would I want you to tell me when I can go to the toilet? Like, I'm not a dog. I can just sit in the house and make money doing that. I'd rather do that. But a lot of people don't like me when I say that as well. They think I'm arrogant, but I'm not being arrogant. It's just the way I like to live. If you have a job, you like it, that's cool. Do what you want.
Exactly.
But so today's kind of product in today's wrestling world, community, society, whatever you want to call it, what's something that you really like about it? What's something that you love about it? For me, it would be how much there is. There's just so much to watch. What would be yours? What would you love?
I would probably agree with that, to be honest. There's like so much to watch, but there's also so many like different styles. So like there's the guys that like the flippy stuff, or the guys that like people like The Miz, where it's more to do with the character rather than the in-ring ability. And you've also got like people that prefer brawlers like Stone Cold. You've got people that like technical wrestlers like Bret Hart, Owen Hart, and a bunch of them. High flyers, for example, a lot of people I know idolized Rey Mysterio as a kid. And you've even got people that look up to people like the Big Show and Braun Strowman, who weren't necessarily the most athletic, but they're good at being big men in wrestling. So, and that's probably the thing that I most like about it.
Yeah, man, I think because of how much there is, it's so good as well. Like you said, there's so many different styles. Even if you just take WWE, NXT UK, NXT, SmackDown, Raw, even though they're quite similar, they still have slightly different styles. SmackDown's more of like, feels more high fly, has more athleticism. The bigger guys are normally in Raw. NXT is obviously the kind of smaller part of it, which has got cool guys in it. NXT UK is just like a totally different style. It's more like UK style, which is like it just seems a little bit more hard hitting and stuff like that. Especially when you've got people like Walter that puts on insanely hard hitting matches. But I just love the fact that anybody can watch whatever they want, and there's so much of it to watch. You can go on YouTube or the network. So recently I've been going back watching early 1990s WCW, and it's just been like weeks. There's so much of it. There's like, it's impossible to run out of wrestling to watch at this minute, which is, if you remember growing up, or like when I grew up, you had to go get a DVD, go to HMV and stuff like that, trade with your friends. But then like now you can just literally YouTube wrestling and millions of matches are there, which is insane.
Yeah, it's one of them things. Like when I was a kid, it was like always record it onto DVDs and then rewatching pay-per-views that way, or like you say, having to go and buy the DVDs. Like WWE used to do all the greatest matches of certain wrestlers and stuff, and you would buy them if you liked the superstar, or you would buy the pay-per-view DVDs and stuff to be able to rewatch something. Whereas, like you say, nowadays it's just a click on the network and you could pretty much search for whatever you want. So it's pretty handy the way things are carrying on.
Yeah, man. The worst thing for me is I've got for like this channel, I've got Impact Plus and WWE Network, which is just like insane amounts of content. Like it's never ending amounts of wrestling. I can watch it every day and never see the same match twice, which is mind boggling. But like you were saying, I think it's so cool that there is so much stuff, different styles. And on the flip side of the kind of positive side of it, what's something that you dislike about today's wrestling community?
The thing that I probably dislike about the community would be you've got people that, like, I don't mind people bashing the company themselves, but it's like people that diss the people that are wrestling. For example, like you've got people that say, "Oh, the Miz can't wrestle" and stuff like that. If he couldn't wrestle, I don't think he'd be in WWE. Right? Can you argue that he's a bit safer than a lot of other people? Yes, but can you deny his success? Not really. Like, two-time WWE champ, two-time Grand Slam champion. He clearly has a great character that people love to hate or people just love. So it's people that haven't been in a ring or haven't actually taken a bump that just slate on people. Another one that gets a lot of flack for, you can argue it's the creative side of WWE, is Charlotte Flair. Now, personally, I think Charlotte Flair's like exceptionally good in the ring. There's a few things that you can say, "Oh, yeah, well, that doesn't look good," like whatever. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't really be bashing her for the fact that she's constantly in women's title matches. At the end of the day, it's not her decision; it's WWE. So I wouldn't mind if people just bash the company, but it's the people that take pot shots at the actual stars themselves, which I don't really like about the community.
Yeah, man, I totally understand it. Obviously, I'm a review show. I give my opinions on wrestlers. So, like The Miz, I didn't like when he got the championship. I wouldn't say he couldn't wrestle. He wouldn't be there for so long if he couldn't wrestle. Plus, some of his matches are actually pretty fun to watch. Like back in the early days when they were giving the belt to anybody, like that 2011 period, 2013, whatever period it was, they were just giving the belt to like everybody got it. Like all the younger guys got it at that time, which I think's pretty cool. I wouldn't say I'm the big Miz fan. Like I wouldn't go out and watch his kind of matches if I'm sitting what I enjoy wrestling. But when they're on, they're no insulting to the eyes. Charlotte Flair's another one, man. I don't understand why people hate her. She's literally the daughter of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and she moves just like him in a female form. Like there's obviously, like you say, when you've done it, you've trained it, you watch it, you can kind of see there's a few wee bits here that she's still to kind of pick up, but she's really early in her career. What people remember for Flair is still, he was like 10, 15 years into his career. When you started seeing him on TV, he already had this big off-TV early career before he kind of got to that point, which boggles my mind how people can like slate her. I think she's a great wrestler. Her and Rhea Ripley last year at WrestleMania, I thought was amazing because I'm a mark for Rhea Ripley, man. She's like my favourite wrestler at the minute. I'll just, anything going, she's in it, I'll watch it. But I think it's insane how people, like you says, kind of bitch about the wrestlers. Obviously, you can have your opinions. Like maybe I don't really like Nia Jax, but she must be able to do something right if she's still there. I don't know what it is, but she might be able to do something a little bit. She can obviously do stuff better than me, but she's not slipping off the side of the ring and breaking her neck. But I think it's insane. Like people will just have this opinion or this belief on this one person and be like, "That's it. I hate that person." Like, just let it go. It's a movie. Like you wouldn't see Arnold Schwarzenegger running into an island with like a machine gun and taking down 50 people and believe you can do that in real life. You know what I mean? Like it's no like you can separate that. And same thing, you should be able to do that with wrestling as well. But then that brings to my point that I want to ask you, what do you think about social media? I think they should have personal social media. If you're in WWE and stuff like that, where the public eyes on you. You should have a personal social media that you could have whatever you want, pictures of your dog and beaches, whatever. Put it behind a private thing, so you've only got your friends and stuff on it. Then in your actual, like, WWE, Roman Reigns at WWE, don't mean, like, their accounts, they should have, like, that's when they stay in character. Like, kind of keeps that kayfabe, plus everybody's on social media, and it would just work. What do you think about social?
So I would agree with you, to be honest. If you want to post pictures of your dog and stuff, personally, use a personal account. For example, I've got 2 Twitter accounts. Got a personal one for myself, where I post like all types of different opinions and like stuff about my personal life. But then I've got the character one, which I'll just post in character. Partly keep kayfabe alive, but also I think like it's probably the best idea that you can have. Keep your personal stuff on one, keep your business stuff on another. My Instagram, for example, is private, partly because Instagram I don't really use too much, but like I use that more or less as a personal thing. Same on my Facebook. I've got a Facebook page for myself. I've got my personal one for like my friends and family and stuff like that. So I would agree with you. Keep your private stuff private, and then unless, for example, photos of your dog works for your gimmick, just use them for your personal one rather than one.
Man, 100%. Like, I don't understand why people. Social media is the biggest thing that's happened in the past 20 years since the internet. Pretty much, social media's changed how people perceive the world, and it's all about taking pictures about doing TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever. Like, everybody's got their niche on there, and there's so many talent, like in WWE or AEW. There's hundreds of guys that you could literally give them, okay, you're going to stay in character and you're going to go after this niche. Do you know what I mean? Like, bring people in to watch it, which it boggles my mind as somebody who's in marketing and advertising. I'm like, they'll literally think you've got this there. WWE make billions, and I'm like, just do that. You'll make even more than the billions you already make, which is insane to think that. I think it might be they don't want to, because they're contractors, don't want to overstep their mark and stuff like that. But man, like you says, I love the way you do it. You've got your kind of personal stuff, and you've got the character posting. I love that kind of stuff. That's what I would get everybody to do. I would just be like, look, you need to do this if you want to work here. If not, just go to the other guys, go somewhere else.
I've actually had like this similar conversation with some of my friends, and my friends have said like, what are you going to do if somebody comes up to you and recognises you as Roy rather than who I actually am? And I'm like, well, I'm going to stay character because they've recognised me as the character. So why wouldn't I? So if my character's a heel, I'm going to be a dick. My character's a face, I won't. It's as simple as that, really.
Man, I think that is honestly so refreshing. It's something that Owen was saying and stuff like that as well, is like keeping that social media stuff. Everybody knows that's what should be done, but it's just like people don't want to do it. And I think it's so cool that you're going to do it. Like, you're kind of there, like, if somebody comes up to me and I'm being a bad guy, like, you can be a dick but also still sign an autograph or take a picture or like say, how are you doing or something. Like, you can still be a dickish doing it. Like, most people would say it's just the way I normally act, but I think it's just like you can still do it. Like, it's not a hard like line to follow. No. Like, I don't get why people think it's such a, oh, I want to post pictures of my dog on social media. Well, if you're a bad guy and you've just like if you're the woman with Randy Orton just now,
Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss, that's her name. I keep forgetting her character name. So Alexa Bliss, like, if she's posting like on Twitch, but then on Monday, like Tuesday she's on Twitch, Monday she's just like this demon. It's like, well, why have you just ruined? Oh, it's a movie, it's a TV show. That's fine, but it's a circus, it's a carnival, it's live action theatre. Like, you don't go to theatre and expect to see somebody get murdered, and then you just see them walking down, sitting in the audience eating popcorn. You're like, what's happening here? This has just ruined it.
Like, imagine if back in the mid-90s, if Brian Pillman was on social media, you can guarantee nobody would be able to tell whether or not he's a loose cannon. Like, Rick Rude as well. I've seen something on Instagram, and it was like, imagine if Rick Rude was alive and had Instagram, how lit that would be. And like, you can just see what would happen. Every day he'd be posting photos of himself and just reminding everybody that how great he was and how nobody can compare to him. Like, so if you're a heel, especially, you should just be doing that. Like Undertaker, for example, part of the reason he was so successful is the fact that nobody knew the real Undertaker. It was just like, he was always in character. So,
Man, I think it's so refreshing. I'm watching a lot of Rick Rude stuff. He is one of my favourite wrestlers. When I got older, I remember watching him. It was a WrestleMania Anthology box set collection. I don't know if you remember them.
I've got them, yeah.
I got them when I was younger. I got that and the Royal Rumble one. And I just remember just sitting binging all the WrestleManias. And it was WrestleMania 4 or 5, I can't remember, but it was like Jake the Snake versus Rick Rude. And I just fell in love with both those guys. But I'm doing like a top 10 matches of Rick Rude just now. And I've been going through like all his WCW stuff, which a lot of people forget. He was there in the early 90s. But he's great, man. I just, everything he does, even after obviously his injury, and then when he was just wearing suits, I thought it was amazing when he was in Nitro and then he's in Raw, then back to Nitro. You're like, what? This guy's just everywhere. No, he's in ECW. Nobody even knows what he's doing.
Yeah, his ECW stuff is pretty good, to be honest. And back to WCW, the Dangerous Alliance with that was all excellent.
Yeah, and we obviously mentioned Brian Pillman. Yesterday I done like a 316, 16-3 for us, 316 live day, and it was talking about the Hollywood Blondes, my favourite tag team of all time. Well, one of my favourite tag teams. Just then when they went to WWE and they had the Pillman with a gun, like Pillman's got a gun stuff and all that. That feud was insane. But the Hollywood Blondes definitely was one of my favourite tag teams ever. And on that kind of note, who would be your... No, we'll change it up this time because I normally ask who's your favourite wrestler, but what would be your favourite tag team? What's your...
Favourite tag team would probably be the Hart Foundation. It used to be, like growing up, it used to be Edge and Christian. But with the age that I am now, with the amount of wrestling that I watch back and had a look at, it's probably the Hart Foundation.
Yeah.
They're just Brett's technical ability with Angle's power is just brilliant. So probably
a lot of people don't even rate the Hart Foundation, but like it's just they have great matches. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that early. Plus, early Bret Hart looks really weird. Like he looks so much different than like the older Bret Hart, but he looks the same. It's like you look so different. But like if people who are watching this have never seen it, they should go check it out because they put on killer matches pretty much every time, and they go against some terrible tag teams, like silly tag teams, and they pull out the bag. They put on a great show.
There's also another tag team that I would recommend a lot of people watch because I don't feel they get as much love as they should. Is Yokozuna and Owen Hart. Them two as a tag team, it shouldn't work, but it just did, and it's just amazing.
And for years, I did when the match came on with them, I would just skip over it, or I would like fast forward through it, catch a couple of bits. I never really rated them till maybe 10 years, 15 years ago, probably. I'm getting older. I sat down and I watched quite a lot of them, and I was like, these guys so work. Like the kind of Jim Cornette being there, then you had all the different people just coming, being in the managers and stuff, and it really works. It's such a, like you said, it's something that you look at it and you're like, this isn't going to work. Like Owen Hart with Yokozuna, what the hell? But it's great. It's a great tag team that everybody should go check out as well. So obviously we're talking about wrestling. That's like the thing that we're here for today. You're kind of, have you had a match yet, or are you still like waiting?
So I've had some training matches. I think about 3 or 4. So they were just before the current lockdown, when you could have like up to 6 people in a ring. They're only in front of 2 people in matches that I have. So it was all right in terms of we got told to act like there was a crowd there and stuff. But then it's kind of like also difficult because you're not getting that like audience reaction, so you don't really know how well they do when the crowd's there. Matches, I thought they went all right considering like I've never really done them before and stuff. I didn't really miss any of the spots in that. There was only one match where I did make a slight mistake, but it was well covered by the other person for selling the moves that I did a bit too early. But other than that, they've been all right. I feel anyway. I've obviously still got quite a bit to improve on with being a trainee, but that'll come with experience. So.
No man, I think it's cool, especially with this kind of tournament. Like you obviously have had your trainee matches and stuff like that. Like maybe your first match is going to be when people are there in front of a crowd, and it's going to be in like the whatever kind of the way they're going to work the tournament, whatever they're going to be doing with it. I think it's going to be insane. You're obviously going to go over. You know how to talk. You just need the in-ring work stuff, which is probably the most hardest part of it to get down. Like, you can get the talking stuff, you can kind of learn that, but then it's the in-ring stuff that you just need to get. Like you said, you've got the spot stuff down, which is just learning. It just takes time, man. Because I remember when I started, I was so like I think everybody's terrible when they first start. And my first match, I was out there, and this guy hit me with a clothesline. And like, if you've ever been hit really hard, you just kind of black out for a little bit. It's like now that like 2 seconds, it just less than 2 seconds. It feels like 10 minutes, but it's like like half a second. You just kind of black out. And I remember just kind of falling outside the ring and just kind of being there, stood outside, like, what the hell's happening here? How did I manage to get? Did I manage to get here?
Yeah, it's a bit nerve-wracking, especially I remember my first match. We did, like, I got sent away with a lad that's been there for a while, Damon Havoc, really good lad. And I got told to come up with a list of moves that I want to do, and then we ran through the match outside of where we train, and then we just literally came in. There was no like real run through. It was literally just, right, do you remember this? Do you remember that? Do the match. So it was interesting. We managed to get through it. And I learned quite a bit, to be honest with you. Every time that I've done one, I've always learned something else. So just basically trying to be like a sponge, just learn as much as I possibly can.
Man, it's so good to hear. Like, I know there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that I speak to that want to be wrestlers, and they're just like, I know what my character's going to be like. I know what I want to do, how I'm going to be my style. And I'm like, but the minute you go into that training class, like, it's just, that's all out the window, and it's just going to be something totally different. Because you might find out that you're a short guy that is more of a technical base instead of from doing like high flying stuff, or you're a tall guy that likes to do high flying stuff. It's a whole learning process, and it's cool to hear that you're being like a sponge and taking it in, which a lot of people, like, I'm sure you've seen people come in and they don't take it in, they don't try and learn and change. They just have this idea, I'm going to go to WWE tomorrow, and it just ruins them after like a year.
So I'm a short guy, like I'm under 6 foot, probably about 5'8", and I'm not particularly built. I'm less than 200 pounds at the minute. I am trying to get up there, but I'm not really athletic enough to do any type of high flying and stuff. Like, I do the odd 1 or 2 moves, like the spinning heel kick and stuff like that. My main focus is just basically to be the type of small heel which will just win by any means necessary. So thumb in the eyes, like low blows, back rakes, using the ropes to like blind people, just anything I can do to get an advantage, hair pull, and stuff like that. There's a couple of moves that I'm trying to work on in terms of the technical aspect of it, but that's kind of the style that I think will best suit me with where I currently am. So.
Yeah, man, I'm under 6 foot as well. So when I was starting, it was that kind of, when I was actually starting, which was when I was much younger. So I was like 13. I need to go back and look at the actual age when I started, because I always forget. It's between the ages of 11 and 14. So it was like I was really young, and obviously I was a lot shorter, and I was able to like jump around and stuff like that. But I decided I wanted to get big, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get really big. I put on quite a lot of weight, but it was like muscle weight, more muscular.
Yeah.
And then when I broke my neck, I tried to lose more of it. But like just now, I normally walk around about 195 to 210, just depending on my weight. And it's a lot of weight training, running and stuff like that. But I wouldn't be able to do like spinning heel kicks, jumping around and stuff. I would probably, because I'm competitive, if you were like, here's a tenner, go do this and see how good you get at it, I would go do it. But like, I would be uncomfortable, I would be sore, and I would, like, I still think there's a place in the market for a shorter guy just to be that kind of like Chris Benoit style. It's not like he's not a high flyer, but he's got that kind of cool basis. I know we don't agree with what he done. He's terrible for a terrible person. And the ring stuff was good. We'll just talk about that.
So it's kind of funny that you mentioned his name, because when I was trying to think of like different moves to do, because obviously you want stuff that's like different to what everybody else on the shows have been using. Luckily, I was an announcer at a couple of target shows, so I've seen everybody's moves there, and I was also like, obviously being at training, you see what everyone's kind of doing. I wasn't even like a finishing move, but like I was after one because I'm so small. It needs to be something that I can get on any opponent. So I went with the crossface simply because of the fact that you can get it on anybody. But for obvious reasons, there's not many people that use it. So I thought I'll probably go with that for now, and then just to see what I can get from there.
Yeah, man, I think it's so weird that a lot of people, every time I say Chris Benoit's name, I need to say that we don't agree with what he done. He was such a good wrestler. It doesn't excuse for what he done, and obviously, a lot of people try and avoid all the kind of stuff that he done. But all his moves were really, really good, impactful, enjoyable to watch, and it's such a like for a wrestling fan, it's such a hard thing to kind of settle because it's like so sad that he passed away because it was like such a kind of good wrestler, but obviously what he done was terrible. But I think the crippler crossface would definitely be a cool thing for a heel to pull as well, because you can kind of get that anywhere, and it'll look cool, especially kind of doing whatever you want. I hope to see you be pulling in promos and stuff like that. I've been to these shows before. I've been watching you for years. I hope to see them in promos, man, because that'll be cool. I'm hoping to get down to Carlisle Target Wrestling's into it. I know you travel around that kind of area. I'm in Scotland, so it's not that far from where I live. But
the do shows quite a bit around there. It's mainly Carlisle, but they do Dumfries and places like that as well. So
yeah, I would probably come to Carlisle over Dumfries, man, because Dumfries, it's not really not really much there. But I'm dying to get down when obviously we're allowed to get back out, meet people, and then when we can finally be like, okay, I'll get you to the podcast and you can come here, or I can come to you. We can actually do like a cool podcast instead of from Skype, like try to talk to people. It's not the same. You don't get the body language and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the one question that we always like to ask people is, I'll keep this one to the end, but who's your favourite wrestler? I've changed it up. So who's your favourite wrestler of all time? Was it, I forgot what you said. Who was your favourite wrestler?
So if you'd asked us even as little as 5 years ago, I would have said Shawn Michaels. Just because that match in 2002 is the whole reason that I wanted to grow up and be a wrestler. But based on like when I went back with the network, especially being able to watch the older stuff, I'm gonna say Owen Hart. Like just everything about the King of Hearts character just blew us away when I first watched it. As much as I love Bret Hart, I actually think Owen's better. But then I'm like a younger brother, so I'm more or less on Owen's side in that rivalry. So.
Man, I think it's so cool. Like when, that even to this day, people still remember like Owen Hart about how good he was. That match, my favourite match of all time is the Blue Cage SummerSlam '94, Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. I don't remember. I was like 3 when that was on, so I don't remember it when I was younger. But I remember getting a DVD and it was like the top 10 cage matches of all time or something, and that was on it. And I just remember just marking out when I seen it. Like I loved it, and every time you watch it, especially when Owen and Bret are in the ring with each other, every time you watch their match, you pick up something new. Like, I don't know, it just feels like it goes with your mood as well. If you're just putting on just to watch a wrestling match, it'll be quick. If you're putting on to actually enjoy it, it'll be long. You get the technical side, there's some high-flying stuff to go out the ring. Those two guys just work insanely well together. And unfortunately, when Owen passed away, we didn't get to see him. I think if he went to WCW, maybe it could have changed what was happening. But WCW fumbled Bret Hart, so we can't really speculate what would have happened when Owen went. Probably nothing would have happened. It still would have went down the way it went. So, what would be your favourite event of all time? So, for me, it would be that, like Royal Rumble, like that kind of time of year when Royal Rumble's on. I just love it. What would be your favourite event?
So, I do love the Royal Rumble, but I think like WrestleMania is probably the be all and end all. Like, especially like a few years ago, I went to WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, and just going there, it was like the greatest thing ever. Like, I know a lot of people slate that show because there was injuries with certain people and stuff, but being there live, it's like one of my favourite manias of all time because of that. So, WrestleMania seasons for one. So.
Man, there's a lot of people out there as well. Like, the reason I like to ask these questions is people bring up stuff and then it jogs my memory what I was going to say. But there's a lot of people that haven't even been to a wrestling show live. They only see it on TV. Like, if you hate WWE and you go to a WrestleMania or you go to a pay-per-view, you'll mark out. It doesn't matter what you do. Like, it's wrestling live and on TV is two different things.
WrestleMania 32 was actually the first wrestling event of any type that I went to live as well. And when Stone Cold came out, the place just like you could feel it shake. It was just amazing. It was literally amazing.
So I turned 30 this year, and I was meant to go to WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble this year, which obviously COVID happened, so it annoyed me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, we had everything like paid for and booked for Mania. We were originally going to the Royal Rumble, but my friend's debut was due in January, so we swapped it to WrestleMania. And then, like you say, COVID happened, and yeah, so it wasn't the best. But fingers crossed, we can get to another one. So.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping maybe next year or the year after or something. But it just feels like everything just now for the past. So when COVID started, I was 28, and my 29th birthday was happening COVID, and my birthday's June the 10th, and it looks like it's going to be June the 21st, and I'm like, I can't spend 2 birthdays inside. Especially, I'm still 28. I'm no aging. I'm still being the same age. I'm not bothering with this.
I was 23 when COVID happened, and then I'm turning 25 at the end of the month. So I'm not as either. I still feel younger than that. But,
yeah, man, you just tell people you feel younger. Like, I'm a young man. It doesn't bother me. But no, man, I think like you were saying there about going to like a WrestleMania live or going somewhere live. If somebody hasn't ever experienced it, you need to go. It's like even from like when you waiting to go into the kind of place with your ticket and stuff like that. You get in there, the merchandise, the feeling of it, the popcorn, all that kind of stuff going. Then you go into the arena, and it's just like there's loads of people there. The ring's in the middle, and it just feels like, oh, this is important. I've not experienced it in Mania yet, but I'm hoping to experience it. I can imagine going out there would feel like Christmas morning, like it's just like a big kid just running around buying everything, spending a fortune.
Yeah, I spent quite a bit, but it was not a lot worth it. It was literally a great experience, and I would like any wrestling fan, if you can save up and do it, literally do it because you won't be disappointed. It's well worth the experience.
No, man, 100%. I would even say go to Target Wrestling, go to ICW, PCW, whatever.
ICW, Target, all of the shows are great. You get the atmosphere. It won't be as big, obviously, as when you go to Mania. There's like 80,000 people there, but it's still like really good atmosphere. And I would also recommend that anybody to come down to one of the shows because you won't be disappointed. There's like something for everybody as well. So.
Yeah, man, definitely. I think it's such a cool experience when you do go to a smaller independent show. It's like you get like more of like the wrestlers interact with you and stuff like that. Worst thing is now, obviously, me doing this and getting a lot of wrestlers on. If I go to a show, somebody that's been on it, he sees me. So I know if I come to Target, there's going to be a bunch of guys that are going to pick me out, and it'll just be like Bully Barry Day. So I'll be good. I'll come along just to like give you something to talk about. The baldy guy in the corner.
If I have a shirt, I'll buy it. If you're wearing one of your shirts, I won't pull you out of the crowd.
I'll just put a wig on, man, because nobody will recognise me if I've got hair. So the final kind of question we always ask is one that causes a little bit of discussion. So I normally leave it for the last 10 minutes or so of the conversation. Is if you could replace somebody in any match, at any event, at any point in history, who would it be? So for me, the example is I would replace Owen Hart to go against Bret Hart in that SummerSlam 94 Blue Cage, just to be like, this is insane. Obviously, I would only do that if I was as good as Owen Hart, because I would be terrible in the match. But that's what I would do.
That's a tough question. I'm going to go with an underrated match, which I'm hoping a lot of people have seen, but I'm going to add myself to a match to make it a triple threat. It's going to be Owen Hart versus the British Bulldog for the European title finals. It was on an episode of Raw in 1997. And the match is just phenomenal. And like the amount of like knowledge you would gain from people like Owen Hart and the British Bulldog would have just been immense.
Yeah, man, a lot of people don't even consider British Bulldog in that 97 period because obviously his kind of personal stuff they had going on and stuff like that. But he did have some really good matches. Like I think he had one with Bret Hart. I'm not sure if it was 97 or the year before, in your house, and it was just like a bloody match. I know obviously the SummerSlam one is probably the best one in 92, but the in your house one is one that a lot of people haven't seen, and it's just like like British Bulldogs just bleeding the whole match for like no reason. It's like, how did you even get so bloody? Like nothing has happened. But no man, I think the 97 Raws people should go back and watch. Obviously, you need to take it tongue in cheek. The time period, some stuff that they say doesn't go today, but and some wrestling isn't good at all back at that time. But you do get gems like that. I think there's one way Owen Hart and Taker as well, and then there's a Triple H versus Owen Hart that's really, really good, which people just don't bother going back to view, which is insane to think that just $9.99 a month you get like all this content just sitting there.
The best thing about that type of time period is more like 96 and 97 Raws. It's just Bret Hart's work is just amazing. Like people need to realise how great it is. Like when he came back as a face Stone Cold for the series, and then by the end of 97 he was a heel. It's just amazing how he was able to stay true to his character, but then get the audience to turn on him. It's just terrific.
The thing that I loved about that period with Bret Hart is he was a face everywhere else in the world, but he was a heel just particularly in America.
I was sat watching it, and I was like 1 or 2 when it was originally on air, but when I was sat watching it on the network, I'm sat there thinking, I agree with everything that Bret Hart said. I'm not supporting Austin. I'm like, Bret Hart, like, he was screwed in the title match by Stone Cold, he was screwed in the Rumble, and yeah, it's just a great story. And like you say, it's amazing that US, they all booed him, but Canada, Europe, everywhere else, he was like still the beloved hero that he was. So
yeah, man, I think that's what WCW try to keep, but they just they fumbled it for whatever reason.
The biggest missed opportunity in wrestling history, I'd say.
I think as well it can be like a story of two sides into it. WCW did fumble it; they didn't book him correctly, whatever you want to say. But I don't think Bret Hart even wanted to go. Like his heart wasn't in it at that point after the kind of screw job stuff. He just wasn't into it. So it's kind of both sides, which I always like to say to people about like both sides of the story. That everybody's just like, no, it's just WCW ruined it, and I'm like, well, give him some kind of ability. They've kind of made the NWO Hogan at that time. It went back over from being like irrelevant. Everybody hated that yellow kind of gimmick, and then he just went NWO, and everybody loved him again for a small period till they started hating him. Then we went, you know what Hogan done. But no man, so it's been a pleasure speaking to you. It's been really cool getting you on tonight. I've got your links. I know it was Twitter. I've got Target Wrestling. I've got your promo and stuff in the description below. Where would you like people to find you? Let them know where you would like them to get you.
So if you go on Facebook, just type in the Personification of Greatness, Roy Storey, and then Twitter, my handle is @POTGRS.
And I hate on Twitter because everywhere else mine is non-stop wrestling chat, and on Twitter it's chats non-stop because somebody had non-stop wrestling, and I was like, so annoying. There's only one I need to change to the other way around. Everybody else is the same. But man, it's been cool talking to you. Like I says, I would hope to see you get on TikTok and do that heel stuff on TikTok. Keep the character on there because I think you would get mega over, especially with that kind of crowd. Get more people there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit stop recording, and I'll tell you what's going to happen after this. Before I do, everybody go check out this guy. He's the next big thing at Target. He's got great promos, and I can't wait to go down and see him live myself. If you can go do it, go check it out. Go see Target, support your local independent wrestling, especially in the UK at this time, and just enjoy wrestling. So I'm going to hit stop, and I'll talk to you after that.